is up, guys? And happy Thursday! Oh my gosh, I saw you guys coming in as our introduction was playing, and I was so excited because it is so great to see you all and welcome you to a amazing stream tonight. You guys are in for such a treat, like such a treat, and specifically cat treats, because tonight we are live with an incredible owner from Strangecat Toys, Corey. I can't wait for you guys to meet him if you haven't already. And tonight is going to be epic. So thank you guys all so much for being here tonight. We're going to have a Q&A with Corey, also talking about, of course, Strangecat Toys, but the one and only CollectedCon out in Chicago next weekend. So we'll be touching on that. You guys are going to learn so much. And of course, we also have some special reveals. And guys, I said reveals plural. So make sure you stay tuned because Corey brought some very special surprises to share tonight for the exclusive reveal that will be at CollectedCon next weekend. So guys, thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate you being here. First and foremost, I want to give a huge thank you to Corey and Strangecat Toys. This is such an honor as a collector, as a creator, and I have been a huge fan of Strangecat for a while now. Of course, a collector of their work and collaborations with other artists. So it is a huge honor to have Corey on today. So I hope you guys are all doing great. Drop a comment, let us know where you're tuning in from tonight. If you've heard of Strangecat Toys before, and if you haven't, please make sure to follow them on Instagram, Discord, and anywhere else that they are. It's at Strangecat Toys and at CollectedCon, and you can see it here in the scroller at the bottom of the screen. So please make sure to share the love. And guys, before we bring Corey on, I'll give you just a quick introduction. Of course, he's going to share so much more tonight about Strangecat, CollectedCon, and more. But Strangecat Toys was founded in 2015, so it is now their 10-year anniversary, which is huge. And they're located in Florida, which, in case they ever want to expand to New York, I would absolutely love that. But Strangecat specializes in designer toys, art, different collectibles, blind boxes. They have a brick and mortar store too in Florida, which is huge. They're not just online, but they have the most epic website, and I am a huge fan of their emails as well. I love getting to see what's new and what is a new release at Strangecat. But in addition to running an incredible store, they have a gallery and so much more. They also own and operate CollectedCon, which is a designer toy and art convention, which is taking place in Chicago next weekend, which I'm so jealous of anyone who's going because I really wish I could be there. So we're going to learn so much more tonight, guys. They have the most amazing gallery shows, collaborations with up and coming, but also established artists. So we'll touch on a lot of that tonight too. A lot of names that you guys are going to recognize, I'm sure, because I know a lot of you out there collect their work. But guys, we have such an amazing show tonight. Please don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you aren't already, and please show lots of love to Strangecat Toys and Corey tonight. And again, a huge thank you. I am super honored and so excited to get into it. So without further ado, let's bring on our special guest tonight, Corey, owner of Strangecat Toys. Hello,
Hey,
Corey.
how's it going?
Welcome to the stream.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh my gosh, well, thank you so much for being here tonight. I know everyone's been super excited. I have been so over the moon and could not wait for tonight. Been really looking forward to it. So super appreciate you being here.
Thanks. Yeah, happy to be here.
Awesome. And guys, if you have any questions as we're going through the stream tonight, please make sure to drop them in the chat and we'll definitely make sure to get to them. And don't forget to show all your love, shout out any memories, any awesome collectibles you have from Strangecat. We would love to hear it. So good to see everyone. So Corey, just to start out, do you want to give us a little bit of an introduction about yourself, about Strangecat Toys, and how you guys got started?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Corey. I own Strangecat Toys with my wife, Yvette. We started the shop out of a spare bedroom 10 years ago, so it's kind of crazy. It's already been a decade. Um, I, with a friend of mine, would do like Funko Pop flipping, and we'd hit up Barnes and Noble, and we flipped McFarlane toys and stuff at like local tiny comic conventions. And when I met Yvette, my wife, I went over to her place for the first time, and I saw a Joe Ledbetter dunny, and I was like, "What the hell?" because I had no idea anything about the designer toy world. And then after seeing all her stuff, everything else just kind of seemed soulless, it just seemed like plastic and not anything that had any life to it or purpose. So I parted ways with my friend that we were just kind of doing the Funko stuff. That's what he wanted to stay into. And yeah, we found designer toys and we haven't stopped since.
That's amazing. So, when did you have the ideas and have the inspiration to start Strange Cat? And when, if there was a moment where you're like, okay, we have to take this from collecting to starting our own business, store, gallery, and so much more?
So since I was already kind of into sort of like reselling toys and stuff, I started looking to where I could buy wholesale, and I found at the time it was called DKE. It's now called Dispersed, but um, they had a ton of different design toys that you could buy at wholesale, and the margins were much better than action figures. Like NECA, like I had a NECA account, and the margins are maybe like 15%,
Mm-hmm.
and competing with thousands of other people all selling the same thing and Walmarts and Targets and everything. And um, the margins on designer toys were much better, like 30 to 50% sometimes, depending on the company and the artist. Um, so I thought this seems way more advantageous. There's almost no competition in the US. I think at the time, maybe half a dozen stores.
Mm.
And I really looked up to Kirby and Whitney at Rotofugi and Vin at My Plastic Heart. They've been doing this much longer than we've been doing, and um, you know, I I don't want to say I copied them, but I definitely looked to them for inspiration
Mm-hmm.
at, in the beginning, and then we kind of started to find our own path. Like we met artists and made our own connections.
That's awesome. And I think it's so interesting too. And one huge reason why I was so excited to talk tonight was because I feel like you've seen the world in designer toys, art toys, collectibles. And it's super evident too, because seeing all that you guys come out with, like I mentioned, I'm a huge fan of your newsletters and emails, and I love receiving them because I literally will sit there and scroll through and just see the huge variety of everything from sofubi to vinyl to resin to one offs or small runs of things. And I think it's so intriguing. And one of my questions that I always had was, how does someone start this? Like, you have so much going on, so many incredible things in addition to CollectedCon. So if you had to pinpoint something that was super helpful or a collaboration or something that really pushed you forward into that community, but also kind of establishing Strange Cat, what would you say is kind of like the secret formula that you guys have had in starting the business and continuing on?
Uh, I saw a lot of news stores pop up during COVID, and I would say 95% of them were gone within like 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I think most of them hit the ground running way too fast, and they took loans out and tried to be bigger than what they were. We started very small, just in a spare bedroom. I didn't take any loans out. Uh, Yvette and I were both working at vet clinics as like veterinary technicians, and I was spending all my money on the toys, and she'd be like, "Why are you so broke?" And I'm like, "I don't know."
I feel like we all understand that a lot. Definitely me
Yeah.
included.
So, I didn't take any big risks in the beginning. I really played it safe and tried to kind of like foster really good relationships with artists.
Mm-hmm.
A big launch, I think, was probably when we made the Astro Crash with Josh Devine. That was our first production toy. We made it in resin first, and it was casted and painted by Frank Montano, which everybody knows he's like, the goat of making resin toys. Like everything is perfection.
Mm-hmm.
Those sold really well at, I think it was year two, 5 points. And they did so well that, I was like, Josh, let's make this in vinyl. And I want to say we made over 1,000 of them, and they all sold within like a couple months. So
Oh, wow.
that monetarily gave us the funds to like really start branching out and doing other projects and becoming a bigger brand.
That's awesome. And would you say, of course, I feel like I kind of can assume the answer to this question, but when you guys first started to now, was there anything that you thought that you wouldn't expect to see in the industry, especially with all these amazing relationships that you have with artists, different collectibles that came out, trends? Was there anything that you, looking back now, were like, wow, I can't believe how big that got, but 10 years ago, it was still a small designer or a small community versus today?
I mean, just within the last 6 months, Blind Box has
Mm-hmm.
exploded. We were the first, us and I think us and My Plastic Art probably exactly the same time. Were the first to sell Pop Mart in the US. And for a long time, we were the only options, I would say for years. And now it's become like a household name with a craze around Labubu. And,
Oh, yeah.
in our store, the vast majority of our customers are women 16 to 40
Mm-hmm.
buying boxes, and it's crazy to me how crazy people go over the blind boxes, even if it's not a Labubu and it's not from an IP, because when we first started and we were selling toys, like we had a short school bus that we would take to pop-up markets and stuff, and people would come on and they're like, what anime is this from? What show is this from? Like they needed it to be tied to something to have value for them.
Yeah.
And now people are like, oh, it's cute, or I like this character, and they want to buy it, which it was a really hard sell 5 years ago.
Yeah, and that's such an interesting point that you bring up too, because as a collector, I have definitely seen in the couple of years that I've been collecting such a pivot from, of course, like more detailed pieces and bigger, larger pieces to now people are going super, super hard for blind boxes, Labubus, Sunny Angels, and the list goes on. I'm sure you could probably name 100. And guys, if you don't follow Strangecat Toys on Instagram, make sure you do because Corey does a lot of great live streams and you can see the sea of blind boxes that you guys have. You have such an amazing array, and it's so interesting that you were one of the first retailers of Pop Mart, which I feel like, a couple of years ago, people might not know what that is, but nowadays, I'm sure everyone on our stream and listening in, even after the fact, definitely know what Pop Mart is.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they're becoming a household name. Like they're the biggest toy company I think in the world at the moment. Like they've outsold Mattel and all those companies combined.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing too to see as a collector, and it's very interesting to see what comes next. But going back to the beginning a little bit, would love to know, where did the name Strange Cat Toys come from? And of course, we have Grandpa Cat and Beans. So if you could tell us a little bit more about where these fantastic names came from, would love to learn more about that.
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, I distinctly remember Yvette and I in the living room trying to come up with a name for this new shop that we were going to do. Because before it was me and my friend B and C Toys, and then we changed over to Strange Cat. And we're like, well, I was like, what's a cool name? Because I don't want to just be blah 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 toys, because
Hmm.
that's like, I can, I really liked Stranger Factory, Cotton Candy Machine, these kinds of names like Weedy Wheat. They didn't mean
Hmm.
anything.
Yeah.
I was looking down at our cat, and I was like, well, we love our cat. His name was Grandpa. So I was like, how about Strange Cat? And that's what we kind of rolled with. And yeah, our mascot Grandpa is based on a real cat. He's long dead now, but um, he was around when Yvette and I first met when I was like 16. We didn't get together for like 10 years after that, but we worked at the same clinic then, and he was the blood donor there, and we ended up him after he retired. So, it's nice to kind of keep him alive, long past his death.
Yeah, and I love that personal connection too. I think that's super cute. And I love getting to learn, and I'm sure everyone else here can attest to this too, how people like you who are, collectors and have really built everything up from the ground up, where you come up with certain things. And I think it's so fascinating. We have a Siamese cat, and her name's Suki. So we love cats in this household. So I can definitely relate that cats can be a little strange sometimes. I love them though. but that's super, super cool. And one other thing I did want to ask you too, just to give
Oh,
a shout
you
out.
did ask about beans too. You want me to?
Oh yeah, tell us more about beans.
Sorry.
Oh no,
Uh,
go right ahead.
Be- Beans is the brainchild basically of Josh Devine, same guy that we made Astro Crash with.
Mm,
Extremely talented illustrator. You know, he worked at Kid Robot for years. So it was a pretty easy ask to ask him to create beans for us. Um, he had several different drafts and he kind of wanted to go alien style, and then he thought it would be cool to kind of blend the cat since we're a part of it. So that's kind of where he came up with beans. And then the name, I can't remember who came up with the name, but all of us at CollectedCon threw in a name suggestion, and then we just kind of came down to a vote, and then Beans won. I can't remember who was the original person with the name.
I think that's super cute. And my sister always says this, toe beans on our cat. That's a big thing too. So I love
Yeah.
that name, and that's such a sweet story too. And I do want to give a shout out. We have a really cool comment here from Jose. So I'm going to pop this up on the screen. And guys, if you have any questions, comments, anything, drop them in the chat here so we can take a look. But Jose said, Corey introduced me into designer toys and art 3.5 years ago. I went in asking about bear bricks, and here we are now. I love that.
Yeah, I remember when Jose came in. I can't believe it's already been 3.5 years, but he had just moved from Jersey, I think it was. And yeah, he was looking for bear bricks. I'm like, we got bear bricks, but like, let me show you this other stuff, man. Like, there's a whole world out here. You don't need to just go with what you saw, like, your other friends buying on whatnot or whatever.
Yeah, and
And
that's kind of,
like the super fan for Chris RWK and all sorts of artists.
oh, that's awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely chat more about him later because, guys, wait till you hear just some of the artists who are going to be at CollectedCon and some spoilers that we have coming up. But I did want to give a quick story to you, Corey, because I was thinking recently, of course, how I came across you guys. And it was actually a really cool story. And I feel like this tells a little bit more to anyone who doesn't know about Strangecat and all the things that they offer. A couple years ago, back in 2023, I was online and I was looking for Mumbot's Ghostess plush. And I had looked everywhere and I couldn't find it. And I finally came across a website called Strangecat Toys. And you guys had it. And I brought him today because he was essential to me finding you guys. And I remember browsing your website at that time and being like, oh my gosh, what is this? And what is this? And this collab, who is this artist? And I think it's so amazing, guys. One thing, if you're a collector who wants to learn more about different artwork, different artists, check out Strangecat's website because I promise you, you're going to learn a lot. So, Corey, that kind of brings me into my next question. You guys, I mean, are just so amazing with the quantity and different artists that you work with. So, what does your day in the life look like? I can imagine that you're constantly planning for the next thing, and especially this time of the year with CollectedCon. But can you tell us a little bit more about what the behind the scenes looks like for you and Strangecat Toys?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a complete chaos, but I guess it's kind of like a controlled chaos. I have or we have, and not just me and Yvette, we have so much on our plates. Especially ever since we started the brick and mortar, and you know, we've had the brick and mortar for a little over 3 years now, and the first 2 years, not very many people came in. Like we had some regulars, but we'd have 10 or 15 people a day come through, and I would watch the office while I packed orders, and it was just me and Yvette in the shop. And now we have 6 staff, and I barely have time to go eat lunch. Like I'm just eating a sandwich while I'm also working. And and it doesn't end either. Like I get home and that's when everybody in China is awake, and that's when I'm
Mm.
talking to them chat and WhatsApp and Line. And so it's just, it's never ending. I wouldn't want it any different. Working for ourselves has been the best thing to happen to us. Even though it is kind of grueling hours and nonstop, I do still love it. Um, but yeah, in the morning, I check all my emails, all my messages, get caught up on that, go over stuff with what the staff needs to do. Yvette does all of the customer emails, which 99% of the emails are people saying, "Hey, where's my package at? It hasn't shipped yet." And it's like, "Oh, it's a pre-order. It doesn't come in for 3 months. Like,
Yep.
please." So it's pretty frustrating. We probably get 20 to 50 calls a day at the store of, "Hey, do you have Labubu? No, you can't buy Labubu anywhere except for Pop Mart." And, "Hey, do you have Sunny Angels? No, sorry, we're sold out. Hopefully we'll get some more soon." So um, everything's constantly changing. And then, with luckily with CollectedCon, it's not just me. We split, kind of divvy up the work between me, Travis, Chris, and Kirby.
Hmm.
But yeah, always kind of looking towards the future. Like, we're trying to plan to do a toy show out in Japan, March next year, and
Ooh.
scouting possible potential new location for CollectedCon. We're not sure if we're going to stay at Navy Pier or not.
I do have an idea for you. You could, bring it up to the Northeast up here. Just
That,
saying.
that's what Chris keeps saying. The biggest struggle with the toy shows that we've learned is the union stuff is killer. Most of the big cities require union labor,
Yeah.
and just to give you an idea of a cost to put on just a 2-day con is like $100,000, which is insane. Like,
Wow.
it should not cost that much. Like, we have to sell a 10 by 10 booth for $1,000. Our cost for that booth is like $650 just for them to put one table down, not even a wastebasket, because that's like an extra $50, one chair, and then
Hmm.
pipe it. Not cost that much. And we've found other non-union places, and it's like a third of the cost. So we love Chicago, we love the Midwest, but who knows what's going to happen next year.
Wow. Well, that's super exciting about Japan. I feel like I definitely would love to go there. I'm sure everyone here would as well. But that is very interesting. Something new that I definitely learned today. Had no idea it was that expensive, especially for a 2-day con. And I can't even imagine some of the conventions that are even more than that. But to anyone
Yeah,
who,
because
oh, yeah, go right ahead, Corey.
we're even like, it's not a humongous event hall like a
Mhm.
decon. So, just imagine the scale of those places, or like a New York Comic Con, like $500,000 probably.
Crazy. Yeah, I can't even imagine. But that's definitely very interesting and hopefully some good options for you guys for the future. And now that we're kind of touching on CollectedCon, do you want to give us a little bit more of like a background, where the idea came from to start CollectedCon, and any details that you want to share for anyone who might not know what it is? And guys, if you don't know CollectedCon, it's taking place next weekend, July 12th and 13th at Navy Pier in Chicago. So you can go to collectedcon.com to grab your tickets. I so wish I was going there. I will absolutely be there next year. But Corey, do you want to give us a little bit more and anything else that you'd like to share about the event?
Sure. Yeah, a few years ago, we were doing 5 Points Fest and Decon specifically every year.
Mm-hmm.
Our local Comic Cons, mostly because, like I said, same deal with the bus. It was just hard to convince people to buy stuff that wasn't from a movie or something. So it just felt kind of like a waste of our time and resources. So we were just specifically doing designer toy shows. Um, and we weren't super happy with how the direction 5 Points was going. It's their prerogative, it's their show to do whatever they want with it, but it wasn't for us anymore. And I didn't only want to do decon. I love decon. Ben, those guys are great. But there's things that I think should be done differently, but it's not my show. I can't tell them what to do. So I was like, maybe I should start a show. So I reached out to, the people that I trust the most, that I'm very close with and friends with. And, I reached out to Travis, Chris, and Kirby, and I was like, you want to do a toy show? And they all, you know, not very reluctantly were like, yeah, let's do it. So, um, yeah, that's kind of how it started. And, we found the venue pretty quick, and the venue is beautiful. If you've not been to Navy Pier, I think the building's like over 100 years old. It's like a mile long pier, sits right at the end of the pier on the water with Lake Michigan. So very beautiful. Tons of foot traffic. We had a ton of attendees last year. We're expecting the same or more. Um, Ton of artists that I feel like took a chance on us the first year, and I really appreciate that. From the feedback we got last year, everybody had a great show. So we have a lot of returns for this year and some new people this year. And our big guest here is Grape Brain is coming all the way from Japan. I think this is his first toy show in the US in like a decade.
Wow. I am so jealous when I say that. And guys, just to give you a little glimpse of some of the artists who are going to be there, I wrote down some basically ones that I collect that really stood out to me. But there are so many artists. So if you have not visited the CollectedCon website, go to collectedcon.com. But just to name a few, you've got artists such as Fifth Turtle, Candy Bolton, Chris RWK, Fixed Temple Toys, Great Brain, who Corey mentioned, Hot Actor, JFO, Clav, Mumbot, Revised D, Sad Salesman, TJP, U2s, Zintiers, and so many more. I can't even name them all. But what an incredible selection, Corey. I mean, truly, if you took all my favorite artists and put them in one spot, it would definitely be next weekend at CollectedCon. So, can you give us a little bit of a glimpse of what goes into coordinating, planning, getting this all ready while simultaneously running a brick and mortar store, website, everything else you guys do? What is the process that you kind of go through for CollectedCon, and anything else that you want to mention as well?
Yeah, so it's probably a good 8 months of work to put this show on. Where we have meetings bi-weekly, sometimes weekly, depending on, what all we need to go through and talk about. You have to get special insurance for it. You have to get, stuff with the city. It's not as easy as just like, hey, Navy Pier, we want to set up here. You have to sign up with an event coordinator and a lighting people, an electrician, and like I said, it's extremely expensive. Like
Mm-hmm.
about having music at the venue because people said, oh, it was kind of quiet. It'd be cool if we had music, and Navy Pier's like, yeah, but you have to hire the stagehand, and the stagehand needs a minimum of 8 hours because it's union labor. So it's $1,000 a day if you want to have music. We're like, okay, no music. But it's just another thing to tack on to our never-ending list of things we have to do over here at Strangecat. So it's just another thing.
That's awesome. And everyone is super, super excited. Everyone's saying it's a gorgeous venue. Thank you guys all for your comments. I'm seeing them as they're scrolling by here. And also, another honorable mention because we have an amazing artist here who is super sweet. I've had the honor of meeting him before. In Prime We Trust is going to be there, guys. Prime, I'm so jealous. Next year, I promise I will be there. But don't
Yeah,
forget
and
to visit Prime.
Prime, the creator of Grandpa, like all of our stickers and the toy design all come from Prime. So Prime's our guy for Grandpa stuff.
Oh, that's amazing. He is the best and such a sweet person, too. Oh, that's awesome. So, one other thing that I think would be really great if you can touch on, Corey, is for someone who might not know really like the landscape of CollectedCon, I saw that you guys have some live painting going on, which looks really exciting. In addition to all the amazing collectibles, art pieces, and designer toys. But is there anything else that people should be planning that they are going to be seeing, or anything that you would say you have to do this or you have to see this to have the ideal collected con experience?
I mean, just it's not a huge show. There's 50-ish booths, but a lot of them are split artists. So you're gonna have around 100 artists and vendors. The nice thing about these smaller shows and it being across 2 days is that you can have that intimate experience with your favorite artist. You can talk to Chris Reiniak for 15, 20 minutes. He might get mad that I just said that if somebody's going to bother him for 15 to 20 minutes, but you do have those opportunities, which is really nice. We will have the live painting, and we're going to do an auction too for all the paintings that's done on Saturday. I know Rado Kim's going to be doing one, and a handful of other artists. And we are very artist centric, so all of the funds that the auction raises goes directly back to the artist. We don't take anything. Blick sponsors us, so they give us money to get the stretch canvases and the paint and stuff. So there's no money out of our pockets. We're just happy to have the artists get paid and entertain you guys, and you get to see like some of your favorite artists paint live. Rado Kim's another big one that's, like I said, it's coming all the way from Korea. I know she was just here, I think, last year for her show at My Plastic Heart, but I don't think she's been at a US convention ever that I can think of.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
that's so amazing.
Great Brain did the design artwork for the flyer and the badges, and we're also going to have a T-shirt. So if you really like that design, it's going to be on a T-shirt for you to buy there.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I did see the teaser that you did over on Instagram with the beautiful three-headed tiger by Great Brain, which oh my gosh, I can't wait for that pre-order to come out online because I will be there. But so many incredible things. And guys, in case you are not familiar with collecting designer toys, art pieces, I brought just a couple things just to show off the, beautiful things from my collection from you guys or collaborations that you've worked on. So Strangecat not only does amazing gallery shows, I recently did a video with these little guys who are by TJP and Zintiers. We have the Sad Yorick combo here, which I
Nice.
freaking love them so much.
It's such a good collab. It's like a perfect collab.
It's beautiful. And coming from someone who collects both Zintiers and TJP, I was like, oh my gosh, where am I going to display them now? Do I put them in the TJP section? Do I put them in the Zintiers section? So they are the perfect collaboration from your recent gallery show. And not only that, but you also, of course, sell different collectibles and work with artists. So I brought Stretch Bobby here, which has
Nice.
become a big favorite among people because it looks so crazy. And wait till you guys see these in person.
Yeah, super trippy.
And then one other thing too, because I feel like this is such a big thing that drew me to you guys and really intrigued me because I did not know how many collaborations Strange Cat does with different artists and ones that you guys actually, of course, produce and work on. I brought my Aurora Borealis Sparkling by Arctic Fox and Strange Cat Toys, which is one of my favorite pieces. So if you guys don't follow Strange Cat, don't check out the website or haven't already, please go take a look because you can find beautiful pieces like these guys. These are a little bit older / sold out. I believe Stretch Bobby is still in stock and so much more. And these are a couple of my favorites for my collection as well. So that's what you're in for at CollectedCon if you guys go. Awesome stuff like that.
Yeah, and I did bring some sneak peeks and one exclusive reveal for collecting.
Woo!
Two, sorry, two.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh. Thank you so much, Corey. Guys, we need some drum rolls in the chat here for all these reveals.
This one, I haven't decided if I'm gonna sell these or just give them away, but it's the Safubi Grandpa that I painted here,
Oh my gosh.
with like a black, green, and gold accents. I haven't decided on a name, maybe like Goblin Gold or something, but I might give these away. I don't know. We'll see. They didn't take me too long to paint. Um, we also have from Fawnwood the latest Gem Pod.
Ooh. Oh, that is beautiful. Here, let me pull you up on screen for a second. Make you full screen. Guys, look at these colors. Oh my goodness.
Art. And let's see. We also have the orange prismite from U2's.
I saw this and let me just say, I love U2's. I first got to see their work at Econ at Plastic Pizza's booth last year. And they have just exploded on the art scene. And this might be my favorite piece that they've ever done. And of course, it has to do with Strange Cat as well. So super
We
beautiful.
we have one other U2's piece that we're hoping to release at CollectedCon, but it's currently in custom, so we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, the clarity on this thing is absolutely insane.
Oh my goodness. So is that made out of resin, I want to assume?
Yep. Yeah. So this
Beautiful.
one resin, and then this guy is in vinyl.
Oh my gosh. The colors are just so gorgeous. And especially that orange, it always stands out in any collection.
And then I think possibly the con favorite we'll see is the latest Muffin Man. This is the last in the flower series, so if you were collecting the different flowers, this will be the last one.
Oh my
Um,
gosh. You're getting a lot of love in the chat right now, Corey.
And these are limited to 50, and we're just gonna bring them all to the con, and they're only gonna be available on Sunday. So you won't be able to get these Saturday, but Sunday.
Wow. And all huge artist names, especially, I mean, oh my gosh, Muffin Man and U2s and just everyone mentioned, and especially Grandpa Cat. I love seeing all the variants that you guys come out with and the different mediums and collaborations. And I just think it is so genius, and especially as a cat lover, definitely very appreciated too.
Yeah, I do love all the artists that we work with. I've become really good friends with really all of them. It's been like one of the best parts of doing all this and making toys. Is it's nice to make toys with people you like, and we can collaborate on ideas and stuff. And then this is the big reveal. This is the new stubby from
Oh my gosh.
Stubby.
Guys, you're getting a huge reveal here. Holy cow.
And the light is a little bit kind of messing it up. I don't know if, let me see if I turn this light off. Oh, that's worse.
Wow. Here, let me make
Yeah,
it full screen one more time, Corey.
Lori's been having a hard time photographing it, but yeah, it has a really cool deep color shift. Let me see if I turn this ring light down.
That is gorgeous with the blue that you can see coming through the paint. Oh
So yeah, these
my gosh.
at CollectedCon limited to 50.
Wow. And that's another thing too that I absolutely love about you guys. You make these gorgeous pieces and they're also super limited. So anything that you guys see that you love, make sure. This is from a personal story that I have where I've missed out on so many things that I've always wanted because of that. But I love that it is, super exclusive and there are difficult pieces to come by. I feel like it adds a lot to just the memories that you'll have with the pieces and just the story of the artist, and I love it, and I am so jealous. Those are gorgeous releases, and thank you so much for premiering that here and showing us a sneak peek.
Of course, happy to.
That's awesome. So one other question I have for you, and again, guys, have any questions, drop them in the chat here, please. We'll make sure to get to them. But as someone who, of course, owns Strangecat and even Yvette too, what do you guys love to collect? And have you found that your interests have really changed over the years of, running, owning, operating a designer toy or collectible store and so much more? And kind of like if you had to pick some favorites out of your collection, what would you say?
Yeah, my collecting changed a lot. I think I really liked Dunny for a very long time, and I tried to be a completist, and um, I don't know if it just became too much of a repetition. I kind of like lost my love for the platform toy. So we don't really collect that anymore. I have a ton of Alex Pardee. I'm a huge
Mm.
Alex. Anything that he comes out with, I try to get. Same thing, Luke Chu. Um, but recently, I've switched over to mostly Safubi, like artists from Japan. I really like the Rinkakus from Frog Tree and Korkashi, and then 0313 makes these little foxes that I collect. I try to get every single one that I can, but they're hard to come by since they're all in Japan and mostly sold not online.
Mm-hmm.
Yvette also was very much a Kid Robot kind of collector, but then after they kind of fell apart, she collects a lot of smaller makers that they're almost like on the outside of the designer toy scene, like they're like hand sculpting stuff and selling stuff on Etsy, and I think a lot of them don't realize that there is this whole scene because we reached out to a lot of those people for CollectedCon and kind of got them involved. But um, like Willow Works is one that she collects, people like that. So check out Willow Works. We just made a toy with her. Um, a good chunk of the toys we produce come from Yvette's like, oh my God, see if this artist will make a toy with us. Cause like she's been collecting their stuff for so long. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's really switched over to like the small makers and then mostly miniatures. She's got like a shit ton of miniatures, and anytime we get like a gotcha list and we have to order from, she's like, "Ooh, order those because I want them."
I love that. And one thing that I have noticed about you guys, and again, this goes back to just, reading your emails and keeping up on socials, is you have such a wide variety of different collectibles. Of course, there are like the smaller tier blind boxes, but you have also such a huge array of sofubi from Japan and other places. And it's incredible to see because there are so many artists that I love that truly it's really difficult to get their work sometimes here in the US, especially if things are, as you know, I'm sure, premiering overseas or specific toy conventions where there's like a limited run of five. So, one thing that I really want to shout you guys out for is you make collecting super easy. Especially, I love Zintiers. I have a bunch of her artwork, and I finally, of course, got to meet her last year for the first time. And I kind of left econ thinking, okay, how am I going to get your artwork from here on out? And that's when I started purchasing all my bobbies from Strangecat. And I think that it is so, so great because, I mean, everything resonates with someone. And guys, Strangecat Toys has literally the biggest selection of anything you could ever want or find. So definitely be sure to check them out. And I already have some things on my wish list that I will be checking out this weekend. One-offs or like limited pieces. But I think it is really awesome what you guys do because just the education too that you bring to the community is so appreciated and so, so helpful.
Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course.
We
And
try.
yeah, go right ahead. Sorry.
It's been interesting to see because there's kind of been a big fall off of collecting for like designer toys specifically, because blind box has exploded so much and you do get a lot of detail and a lot of really good work for that under $20 price range, you know.
Yeah.
It was almost like a hard sell. Like someone's like, "Oh, I can get like six blind boxes or one big figure." Um, but in the last like 2 months, I've noticed a lot of our in-store people kind of, they're like, "Okay, I've gotten like 50 blind boxes already. Like, what's going on in this glass case with all this stuff over here? What is this stuff?" And then they start asking about it. And so we're starting to get new collectors, which is, we haven't had a rush of new actual designer toy collectors in, I don't know, 5 years. So it's nice to see that that kind of trend is coming back up and people are asking, "Oh, who's this artist?"
Hmm.
Um, because it's very frustrating when I'm scrolling on TikTok and I see people doing their blind box unboxing and they're like, "Oh, I got my trinket. This is my trinket." And I'm like, "Oh my God, stop calling it trinket. It's like
Yeah.
it's so, like that's so like degrading." And I think they just don't realize that it's an actual person's artwork. They just think, "Oh, pop mart,
Mhm.
not casing long or, this artist or that artist."
It's so funny that you say that because I'll never forget seeing, of course, the explosion of Labubus and everything from Pop Mart. And I think back to like Kazing from Decon last year. He had a huge like signature booth, and people were bringing old school Labubus and Goji Momos and the vinyl pieces and Sofubi pieces that like you could not find anywhere. That of course
Hmm.
nowadays, oh my gosh, I can't imagine would go for hundreds of dollars. So it's fascinating to see how all these rarities are kind of filtering their way through the community and collecting into like different ways. And that kind of leads me to another question I had for you, Corey. Where in the next year, 5 years, do you see, especially coming from the standpoint of owning your own business in collectibles, designer toys, and artwork, where do you kind of see the industry going? Do you see more towards like the rare, low piece counts? Do you see, of course, I know mainstream blind boxes, but is there anything that you can kind of give us your insight that you think we might see in the future?
Yeah, I feel like we kind of trend China and we're like 5 years behind.
Mhm.
Um, so a lot of people I talk to in China are like, blind box is kind of like dipping down and people are like losing interest because it's like everywhere.
Yeah.
Um, so I think we're gonna have probably a 2 or 3 year run of people collecting blind boxes and then kind of getting phased out. Um, kind of like how they did with Funko, like you can only collect so many pops. people are so many people are going to collect blind boxes, and we're going to see an influx of The Simpsons and Teen Ninja Turtle blind boxes where it's going to be at 7-Eleven and stuff where it's going to kind of lose its special feeling. And 70% of those people, my guess, are just going to leave entirely, and
Mhm.
then they're going to stick around, collect the vinyl toys, and I think we're going to see a big upsurge in the actual art toy market. And who knows, maybe they'll get that celebrity status here like they have in Thailand and China and Singapore and Taiwan. They have big art events that, hundreds or sometimes thousands of people come out to just to see this one specific artist. And we don't really have that here.
Yeah.
Uh, that we get there. But that's kind of my guess. I think we have a little bit of a run of a blind box, and then kind of it moves over to the actual designer toys and the rare collectibles.
Yeah. And I completely agree. And also, I feel like these people who are collecting things like, Pop Mart blind boxes will one day come across a Strangecat Toys email or you guys on social media. And it's people and companies like you guys that are continuing to really like spread the good word for collecting. But also, the educational aspect of it is amazing, especially to someone who I can't even tell you how many hours I've spent on Instagram just like looking at people's collections and like browsing websites and being like, okay, who is this artist? Or I've seen this piece all over. Like, who makes this? And then kind of connecting the dots. And I feel like that will definitely continue too, where people will start to become curious about what else is out there. And I really hope that we do see that, boom and continuous growth in the collectible designer toys and the smaller art pieces.
Yeah, I think a big help has been our Discord.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped posting on Instagram and stuff when we have Sunny Angels. Unless it's like a meetup or something, I just tell people if we have Sunnies and Smiskies, I'll post it on the Discord. So we have a lot of local people that have joined the Discord, and I can see them chatting and kind of discovering, because most of our Discord is filled with designer toy fans, not people
Mm-hmm.
that. So I think they're seeing other people's posts like in their mail calls or like artists that they like and having discussions, and I think learning about different artists there. So I think that's been a really big help too. I think we have like around 5,000 members now.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I'm so glad you brought that up because, guys, if you are not a member of Strange Cat's Discord, please be sure to go join. I know you guys drop a lot of news there about products that are restocking or coming out, collaborations, and the community overall is awesome. So make sure to join. If I don't already have it in the description of this video, I'll drop the link in there afterwards. But my incredible mom, Funko Lover, has been posting all the links for you guys and shouting you out in the comments. So if you scroll up a little bit, you'll be able to find the link to join the Discord.
And if you're an artist too, we have a whole section for you to share your art. You can post links to your shop. There's an audience there just looking for new stuff. So you're welcome to join and post about all your work.
That's awesome. And we actually did get one interesting question I wanted to touch on here. So this is from a awesome friend of mine, also one of our moderators here, Jeff. He asked, being a designer toy company with small runs, do you feel like if you went with larger runs, you wouldn't have the control over the quality of the figures being made?
I don't, no, not necessarily. We work with a handful of like really good factories. We're working on our first blind box series now. That one will be, mass produced. It's mostly like a storage issue and really like a collector based issue. Like I said, the collector of the designer toy stuff kind of fell off. We were making Dokkaebis, in editions of 100, 200 for 2 or 3 years and selling them no problem. And then that market like really took a dive, and it's hard to sell most things over an edition of 50. So um, just to not have to sit on so much inventory and pay for storage. And I feel like sometimes it might get in like an artist's head if they see their toy is like not sold out for like it's been 4 years, you know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
I think to keep it feeling special is why we've kept it limited.
Yeah, and I totally see also how that reflects on, my side, for example. I love looking at something in my collection and being like, there's only 50 of those in the whole wide world, you know, and it's something that's never going to get produced again. And I feel like that keeps it really special, not only for the artist, also, you know, huge, you know, props to you guys too, because if it wasn't for you facilitating that, you know, people like me as a collector wouldn't have that opportunity to add that into my collection. But also, you know, like it definitely makes me happy when I get to see something and knowing there's, you know, 5, 10, 15, 20, 50 units is a super small run. So I can't even imagine all the work that goes into it. Um, and one other thing that I was interested in knowing too, of course, as a collector, but I feel like this is something that is huge for you guys, is your art gallery shows. So one of my final questions here tonight is what goes into forming these collaborations? I know you've mentioned just, you know, the relationships you've had with artists, but we've seen some amazing collaborations with super, super huge artists and Strangecat. So how exactly do these work? How do you guys, you know, brainstorm? How do you come up with these beautiful ideas and translate that into pieces of art?
So the shows, you know, we try, we don't do the shows specifically to like make money. You know, we do a very low gallery split. Most galleries are 50-50 or 60-40, and but we do 70, we take 30%. Um, and it's mostly to spotlight an artist that we respect and we think that they should get, you know, some limelight, and people that may not know about their work yet. Um, I personally don't think it makes sense to do a show every year with an artist that's already huge. You know, we do work with well established artists, but you know, I don't want to take advantage of anybody, and I would never want anybody to feel like I'm taking advantage of them. So we try to spotlight people that we think need to be spotlighted. Um, or if it's an artist that we work with that we're making a toy, it works really well to launch the toy with an art show,
Mm-hmm.
like a group show like we did on the Bobbies a year or so ago. And we haven't done as many group shows as I'd like, just because they're a lot more work than it is to do a solo show. We kind of transitioned to a lot of solo shows, or a group show based on that artist's specific design. Um, Scott, Blind Bag Toy Addict, he curated the first and second Little Shit show,
Mm-hmm.
and because I did not have the time to arrange that with that many artists and have them do the collaboration. So it's been, that was really nice to have him set that up, and you know, we'll do it again next year. I did tell a lot of the artists in our kind of private chat that next year I do plan to focus more on the gallery side. You know, we just transferred to a new location and we have new shelves and stuff being built, so it's been like kind of a hectic, crazy year. And anticipate next year will be a little bit more smooth and well oiled. So we'll get back to doing more uh, group shows. Um, I definitely think gallery shows are important for the artists out there. You know, Plastic Pizza does a bunch of them. There's a new place in Philly that's, I can't think of the name of it.
Is it the Space Lab?
Yep, they're doing a great job with shows. Jay Martin, right? That's who runs it.
I want to say yes. I know we have a lot of
Okay.
people here who I know Red Guardian was here. He's very familiar because he just had an awesome show recently around there. Um, I know it's Assembly Required's coming up there. It might be that too at the Armory. But if
Yeah.
anyone has any info, drop it in the chat.
Yeah, so I think those are very, very important, for emerging artists. You know, we like to work with people that are a little bit more established, you know, just because we can't hold on to so many pieces. We can't show everybody's work as much as we'd like to. You know, we have to. My goal in doing gallery shows is making sure an artist gets paid. So if you're not at that level yet, it's not like any disrespect. I think you'll get there. Definitely show anywhere you can. You're only going to get better. I've seen a lot of artists start that look, hey, I can't customize or paint anything for the life of me. You know, I painted this grandpa, but it's a lot easier with the airbrush and masks and stuff. But um, So my judgment doesn't really matter. But I've seen a lot of artists start most of their stuff looked bad, and now they're like amazing at their craft. So, um, you know, my advice is show anywhere and everywhere you can.
I love that. And it's so refreshing too. Like I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't get to have this deep dive into Strange Cat, into you, and of course Yvette also. But it's so refreshing to see that the immense support that you have for artists. I think it's incredible, and I've seen that, and that's why I love this community too, as a collector standpoint, because everyone is there to support one another. Everyone helps each other out. It's just so nice to see. So I just want to say huge thank you to you and Yvette and everyone else at the Strange Cat team for all that you guys do, for bringing awareness to these immaculate artists that truly, if it wasn't for people like you guys, I would really never come across. And I think it is really, really special that you guys give such a pedestal to these really hardworking, creative people out there and showcase their creativity and their beautiful creative minds as well.
Yeah, and my advice to anybody that's thinking of starting a gallery, like, Space Lab's pretty new. Pay your artists like
Mm-hmm.
immediately. Don't worry about, like, I know a lot of galleries will not pay out for like 3 to 6 months, or they wait until the next show sales to pay the last show off. It's a really bad place to be. I've never been in that situation. I don't ever want to be in that situation. I think respect your artists, pay them. It's their work. It's not your money. That's my advice to anybody starting a new shop or a gallery.
I could not agree more. And I know that we're coming up on an hour here, so I do want to give one special shout out as well, to CollectedCon next weekend. Guys, if you have not gotten your tickets, if you're in the Chicago or honestly anywhere, because it is very easy to get there, Navy Pier, July 12th and 13th next weekend. And it is just looking like the most amazing show. So I cannot wait to see all the amazing photos. But I do understand that there's a general admission, but also VIP tickets, Corey.
Yeah, we only have like, I think 10 or 12 VIP left.
Oh, awesome. So, guys, if you are going or thinking of going, grab your tickets. I also saw there's a pretty awesome VIP bag, which I am also very jealous of. And Corey, I also understand that you guys might have a discount code that you wanted to share as well.
Yeah, I actually made it live while you were doing the intro, but it's Funko Freak, and it's $5 off any of the tickets, VIP, general, whatever. And then here is the VIP toy. This is the silverback beans.
Stop. So adorable. I love the three eyes so much, by the way. We joke that our
And
Siamese has a third eye with the little eyelid that they have.
this is the exclusive reveal. So these will just be for general purchase, the orange beans.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Corey, I might have to cancel my plans and come to CollectedCon. But that's amazing. And thank you so much. That's a huge honor. Guys, if you have not gotten your tickets already, get them and use code Funko Freak. Oh my gosh, I'm so honored. And anyone who's going, please make sure to post lots of photos. Tag me in them if you'd like, and I'll definitely repost them. But Corey, is there anything else that you wanted to touch on tonight?
I think we covered it.
Okay, well, huge, huge thank you to you, to Yvette, to everyone at the Strange Cat side for all that you guys do. And guys, if you don't follow Strange Cat or CollectedCon on Instagram, make sure to go check them out and show your love. They support so many different artists out there. I guarantee that you guys are bound to find many things that you love. I have a wish list already forming on my side. And make sure to check out Strange Cat's website for any designer toy, art piece, collectible that you could ever imagine. Make sure to sign up for their email, join their Discord. And Corey, I just want to take a huge moment to thank you so much for your time tonight. I can't imagine how busy it is in the midst of CollectedCon and just coming off your previous gallery show and just everything that you guys are going through with a brand new store as well. It means so much to me as not only a fan of you guys and a supporter, but also just a huge lover of everything designer toys. I can't thank you enough for your time tonight, for being here, and again, just for everything that you do for the entire community out there.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Well, thank you again, Corey. Thank you guys. anyone who has joined tonight, really appreciate you being here, or anyone who will watch this afterwards. If you missed any part of the stream tonight, I'll be, uploading it to YouTube right after, so you can check it out and go through all the amazing topics that we covered tonight. But I wish everyone a great 4th of July weekend if you're here in the US, or a awesome Friday and weekend if you're anywhere else. And Corey, huge thank you again, and have a wonderful convention next weekend. I can't wait to hear all about it.
See you later.